shower. So she actually has for her books or her ideas, she takes notes on the tiles of the shower. So she uses that too.
Never a free moment.
No, but we are not never free of thoughts. So even the meditation, if you look at masters of meditation that teach them like master class and so on, they say they never get rid of thoughts. They're always there, but you just don't take them too seriously and just observe them, because they gave information to us, how we feel, where we go, what we do, and it's really amazing that like how our life can unfold. So
she has to rewind back.
Täällä ei näy vielä taas YouTube-kanavalla.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a genius thing to have waterproof pens for bathroom tiles, that you cannot wait for 20 minutes until your hair conditioner is done. If the thought is now, you might get another one later on, so you cannot postpone that thing.
Yes, I sometimes actually talk to myself in a way, thinking, okay, please remind me later, and I say to myself, yeah, okay. Not to be too critical, because we are afraid to forget something, but actually we remember again when we need it. It's just we think we need it in another time, but actually it comes when we need it. So
hopefully the stream is now okay. We're having the thumbs up. So sorry for everybody watching the stream. There was the usual YouTube decides that they're just gonna refresh something and the stream got cut. But we are now back live. We have Victoria Kisley Bartels here during the gamification keynote speech. Don't worry if you have missed something. The talk will be recorded on our YouTube channel, on the Pori ES or Pori Entrepreneurship Society YouTube channel. I know that there's going to be a lot of information that you would want to look back at again. So you are more than welcome to do that. And that applies for all the content we do today during the Pixels 3 event. All of it will be available on YouTube. So feel free to do that. So back at could you refresh the previous slide a little bit? Because we went a little bit off topic behind the camera on apocalyptic thoughts in the shower and how you should always write down your thoughts because you might need them later on. But on the superpower of awareness.
Yes, here's the one of the best, I think, definitions of awareness, and I will not read it through again, but I will just rephrase it. So it's about not being judgmental or preferential. If you notice in the way how you act or consider your thought processes, you will see that they are often judgmental. If you talk to someone or somebody talks to you, you will notice that you put what comes to you in two boxes. I agree box or I don't agree box, and you sit either like that or do like that. So it's natural to us to do that because we try to identify what we know and compare it. But when you are, for example, gameful and playful, sometimes you have this curiosity or you are open. So this is what it is about. Awareness is actually to be open and curious with this absorbing mind that like the babies or children, especially young children, you see that they have open eyes and just absorb with open mouth everything. So this is what it is about. Awareness is just whatever the circumstance or situation is, just bring yourself back and look around what happened. So this is your power. Then the second role-playing game is actually connects directly to awareness. That is why I put the magnifying glass here, but it brings you another tool, which is a teaspoon or maybe a coffee spoon. It's smaller. So whatever the most digestible, the most doable right now with what you have, this is what your tool, this is what you should concentrate on. So this is the magic of Kaizen, and Kaizen is Japanese philosophy, and Toyota actually bases everything on it. So and that is why they are the most successful in terms of quality of their products. And then once they tried to deviate, and actually it went all down on them, and then they came back to it. And you can find some of these stories and other stories in Robert Maura's books, and I think he's great in this, and it's a huge awareness booster, his works. 2 are on Kaizen and 1 on mastering fear. So if you're interested in these topics, just look in them. But here, this quote was a huge aha moment, and I almost know it by heart. And it's a reminder to me all the time. So even the small signs that you are resisting the small step, this is the indication that the step is too big. This was a huge aha moment, because as I mentioned at the beginning, I was trying to turn my life into games, and I even wrote a book called 5-Minute Perseverance Game. So I was trying to, 5 minutes is not too long, but actually that is some things are too long. Once also in a chat with Violetta, I said that I tried once to do straight posture for 5 minutes, and she said it's unhealthy, and it's actually impossible to sit all the time, 5 minutes like that. So, but then I thought, okay, if it's too long, what is it? A few seconds would be enough. And once I did this test, and I actually made a huge list, it was 2017, huge list of all the things, all the projects I want to do, and there were like 21. And straight posture was like one of the worst things I wanted to do. And there was another thing, actually, course on self-gamification that I thought I wanted to do. And then I was doing did I do something? A habit tracker. At the end of the month, I noticed that I did all straight posture. I did every day, but I did nothing for the project that I thought was my favorite, because I was too afraid of it. It was too huge. I don't know, but that was really interesting. So the smallest step, the most digestible, the one that we perceive easy, it is actually what we should concentrate. And that is why we actually fly away, we flee from the what we maybe even want to do into social media, even if they disturb us, because it's easier to take mobile and switch it on. But actually you can do that intentionally with the things you want to do. So and that's what I'm doing also. Like when I see that I flee something in YouTube, for example, then I actually invented a new game just last week where I give myself a gemstone, but into it a little bit later. So this is your second role-playing game and your second tool, breaking, looking, and again, awareness key comes here, looking, okay, I don't like it, I resist it, I see that I procrastinated. Okay, so how can I do it so I do it immediately? So how can I break it down further down? So, and the third role-playing game, and you see you have them gameful tools, but you have these 2 tools absolutely necessary, because you cannot do it otherwise. So this role-playing game, I call it the self-motivational game designer. This is your role here. And for me, self-motivation game is something from real life that becomes gameful for you. So then the motivation is just there. It's available on tap, and it actually motivates you further. And it's basically you do something to motivate yourself. So that's why it's self-motivational. And motivation doesn't mean only to those ambitions to achieve something or other things, but it's also motivation to relax, to take enough time for yourself, to sleep enough, and so on. And I will show you in a second what I do. But as I mentioned again, it's important they are all 3. It's like the huge synergy of these 3. And I mentioned before that I didn't know about gamification when I started doing that, but then I realized this is the 3 components, and I recognize them in everything. For example, there are famous books on habits like Atomic Habits or Mini Habits or other things. Or there are other like Gretchen Rubin's Happiness Project and so on. And I recognize these 3 components in there. It's not that I invented all this. It's just I grasped this into words and found what is happening. So I try to communicate how that works. And I think when you say like it's a game or steps in a game or role-playing games, it's really, I see how people suddenly like their faces, like they smile and it's like, oh, wow, I've never seen that. And it's suddenly becomes more simple, because when you see it in a gameful way, it becomes more relaxed, because you can be yourself in a game, you can be resourceful, and it's not only for non-gamers like I am, or I am now life gamer, you could say, but also to gamers who are really like games, and they sometimes, they escape into games because they think the rest of their lives are not so nice. Even if sometimes games can be stressful. I've seen gamers who, for example, they join online game because they just feel kind of obliged to the community. So, but if you approach your life gamefully, you can actually take the best things of the games you love into the rest of your life. So that's the beauty of it and the magic of it. So, and the thing is, if we come back to the game components, the 4 components that we took from Jane McGonigal's book, Goals, Rules, Feedback Systems, and Voluntary Participation, I realized that your voluntary participation, your will to participate in life, whatever part of your life it is, it's actually to find a balance between the other 3 components. So goals, rules, and feedback system. So if you don't enjoy, goal, if it is like too bland to you, or for example, I do some technical, maybe you saw the pitch for me, or the presentation for me for this presentation. It was said that I'm also S1000D expert. It's a technical standard, and sometimes one could think, okay, it's just something bureaucratic, you could say, to implement some technical, documentation and so on. But actually, when I looked a bit deeper, I realized I was saving tax money. And this tax money from sometimes often defense projects, they can be sent to, turned to education and other things. So it's really epic. It's an epic goal in that game. But also other, like, for example, if you clean your house, you are killing germs. So you can formulate in fun way. Then, for example, one idea from another gamification expert was to call it a quest. And when you see it as a quest, it's like you become a little bit more mobilized, like, oh, okay, what I'm doing here? So what should I reach and where should I go? So you become animated and enjoying the whole process. Rules, if you don't enjoy the rules, and you already have them in any project, in anything to do, you have to, do the tests at the university, and so these are also rules. So you don't get your certificate or your degree if you don't, follow certain rules there. If you don't like them, just add some other rules. For example, sometimes I had an idea once. I was afraid to write an email, so I said, okay, I will run around my chair 3 times. Only then I will write the email. And when I said again, I was grinning, and it was really funny. And suddenly the whole, the tension goes away. Or sometimes you can also, sometimes I say, write under the table or do whatever. So add some funny, silly rules. I mean, if you look at those games like, badminton or golf, they don't do straightforward things. They don't take the small object and, put it in the hole. But you get, a rocket or, a stick, and you have to, to hit it from the long distance. And people who want to win, they just follow them. So see what the rules are, adjust them as a designer, because in your life, you are the designer and player. You're both. So see what happens to the player, consider your thought processes, and then, you can design and adjust. And the feedback system, of course, turn them into games, into, one person who was following me on online courses that I have, he said, doesn't mean that I can take, a project milestones in our project and actually take a board game, and mark them there, by going there. I said, yes, if it's fun, it's for all of you, just do it. So once in the project, somebody had an idea to to write a dart, and the decision was already made, but we kind of played and see if a dart game to see if our decision, goes with what we were doing. It became, so instead of complaining and fretting whether it was the right decision or wrong, we actually saved time because we just had fun, and then we went to the next thing. And this is the beauty. And I also saw it in many things and many projects where you can actually save time with changing your attitude, and after that, not only save time and nerves, but also people start getting more open, and also they start referring other people to you, saying that was such a great experience. This person is so relaxed and we worked effectively and so on. Go to him or her, and because it works well. And I had this experience many times actually. So it's brilliant. So and here actually is a awareness booster from another very famous game designer, and I also recommend his book, Think Like a Game Designer. And that was like he emphasizes this many times, and I think he has also a certification program for the game designers, and he helps to find their way, and also many actually get their games sold and so on. So a really great reference. So he says, bring awareness to the emotions that rise during play. I think this is, and you see it comes again back to everything. And he also talks about in the book about he likes more game designs that produce many bad designs, and not wait for one great design, because he says in every bad design there is an element that you can use in another game which will be brilliant and stellar. So and you see, this is the small things, small steps that come here, and also awareness, of course. This is the word really prominent here. And when you turn your own life into games, this comes to self-anthropology, so a full circle. So you need to bring awareness to your emotions. And he also says in his book, you are one of the players. You create the game, you are the player. So pay attention to your emotions, but also to emotions of other people. So, and an additional bonus tool for you is fun. And I find it interesting that in gamification, many designers are afraid to use the word game and fun, because sometimes you see gamification applications, like with COVID, it was like with people were preparing when this started, and there was in US, there was an exercise where they made in Chicago, for example, to play the scenario, what happens when the virus comes from China to them. And actually through the recognitions, through this game, this strategic game they played, they actually avoided the crisis that was in New York. And I think that's super enlightening. I find it interesting that fun and game, they're like the words that people are afraid to use, because sometimes, because there is this prejudice to games, that games are not serious. But they are not, maybe not quite serious, but we are excellent in games. We are absolutely invested in games. This is what we need to see. Seriousness is not that important. But the engagement, the fun is actually important. And what I also discovered is that not people who have success have fun, but vice versa. So who have fun and really enjoys something doing, they have success. And I noticed this about myself too. And I have a electrotechnical background. I have a PhD in electronics. So for me, it was easy to come with this, analogy. I call it fun detecting antenna. So it's awareness, what is fun? Because, and also this authors, Ariel and Shia Kane, they have a really great quote. They say, whenever they don't have fun, they know that they move in the wrong direction. So when you see in the game, when you design or whatever you do, that you don't have fun, so maybe you went something, into direction that maybe others say you should do, or maybe you thought previously you should do, but now it's not the case. So see what is fun for you. And it's really interesting. For example, one time I was thinking, memoir writing, I'm also a writer, it's nothing for me. No, it's not for me. It's too complicated. But I was thinking and talking about it. When people were asking me what I'm writing about, I was saying fiction, not fiction, but not memoirs. They were like looking, why is she saying that? But then I realized I really wanted to write a memoir, and many of my blog posts were like a short memoirs. So that is interesting. Just consider your own thoughts and what you say, what you do, and it can be really enlightening for you. So here's one of the worst slides that I created, but it actually says the most. So I made it last week. So it was actually while I was doing the slides, and it was 28th of February. So you see this, maybe you can see, this is not quite filled in, and this is filled in. So it's, I use a weekly calendar for one of my game books, as I call it. So I put different, so it's mostly the games that I want to play. As I mentioned, there are games that I go into. I hope you can see me. I just a second, just to see that. Yes,
it's all
you see my
visible.
face. Okay, great. So I put mostly the games that I want to kind of keep track of. But there are also sometimes if I don't write it, it's okay. So whenever I get too serious and fret about the points, then I realize, okay, then I don't play the game anymore. I threw myself out, of the self-motivational games. So here is a quick overview, I hope, of different things I play. So this is, for example, from here is there. This is so-called super sleeper game. To get enough sleep. When I started at the very early time to do that, I was like recording the points, and I realized that I was like in half a year, I was over 40 hours of sleep deprivation when if you take 7 hours as a minimum, and that kind of that was a stop point. Says, okay, then I need to introduce a rule, not just count how much I sleep, but actually a rule for a minimum. And this is when I introduced the rule that I should sleep at least 7 hours and 10 minutes. So I give for each 10 minutes, each extra 10 minutes, I give myself a point. And here you can see the sleep point. So I slept, for example, on Monday, 27th of February. There was 7 hours and 20 minutes. So it was 34 points. So I got 2 points. And later I had a nap and got a so-called nephrite gemstone. And then it got me then 3 points at the end. And then this is the sleep coins since I've been started playing the game this way. And also the super sleeper counter. So you could see that I played since 800 days, 822. No, actually it's now more. It was last week. So, and 90% of the time, I sleep more than 7 hours. And so you see, the goal for me was like to remain the super sleeper. I also had titles in the past. I still have some titles, but I don't collect them as often. So I was concentrating on other kind of goals, not fretting about not sleeping enough, but about fretting about, the next title to earn, the next point to get, and so on. And parallel to that, I was getting more sleep. So I was having fun, fretting about gameful things, but I was also getting more healthy, more strong, and so on. And it's not only for sleep, but also I get, as for example, I do some fitness. I'm not very sportful person, and I have also, I'm 50 now, and I have also genetically, if you see that I have different health conditions, including aching joints, but I try to do something. So I try to go for a walk. So here I didn't manage, but here I did manage. So more than 20 minutes a day in one piece, or 30 minutes in pieces. Then I get a point here. Then I have so-called wall push-ups and wall squats I'm doing. So to do, and also some other, if you see here, there is a kangaroo game, and it's an online game that I'm from the gamification community in UK. So I do also those to move and to, different things. Then when it comes to, what I like doing, I love reading. So Nora Roberts, especially, she's my favorite fiction writer. So at some point I realized I want to read her books every day, because this is one of the things I want to do on my last day. I was thinking, it's a good exercise to think, if it would be the last day of your life, what would you do? For me, it was be with my family, eat something that I like, but I also can tolerate, that does me well, and also read or have read to me Nora Roberts' book. So this is when it was like, okay, I will read it. So it's, you see, I have over 600 days, so almost 2 years I read her every day, and I love it. So then I have other paperback, other ebooks. Then also here you can see the project, it's more like work, but also what I like doing. So this is APG, stands for Ambition Project Game. So for me, it's all quite often, I love writing. So my company is called Optimist Writer. So it's a one-person company, and I'm writer and consultant there. So when I work on my books, this is where I record my points. And you see here, this is, it can be either a paragraph. If a project goes very slow, it's a paragraph. If it goes a bit faster, for example, I'm editing the final editing translation of my book. So it's 1% in Kindle book, for example, or whatever. It varies. So it's never, even if I record points here for the whole, it's never too serious, and if I have too many here, then actually if it's more than 10, then I give 1 point only for each 5. So it's also kind of stops me, this rule stops me from, trying to concentrate on only one thing, because it gives me more points. Then I slow myself down so I can do also other things. So this is where the designer in me, comes and says, wait a second, something happens there. It's the balance is lost. Do you remember this balance I showed? So what can I add to come to the balance? So yeah, and the final thing I will show you here is the gemstones. It's one of my favorite things I'm collecting now. There are rubies, diamonds for getting enough sleep. There are nephrites for nap, and tourmaline is to going in time to bed. So I try to use the tea. This is the funny thing. I was asked once if these gemstones are kind of real for me. They are just on paper, but yes, I imagine them. I not only imagine, I actually research. I'm thinking, okay, I said that I want to so I'm getting points for steps. If I do 7,000 steps a day, then I get a point there. So I was thinking, okay, what gemstone starts with letter S? So it was seraphinite, and so I searched for it and found it. And then we have emeralds for extra exercise, like wall push-ups or other things. And I have citrine. It's for change gear. It's a very recent game, and it's about not being too long on YouTube. So if I'm on YouTube, not only YouTube, but surfing randomly. So not something that you want to search something and you research for but something like you just, I want to relax, or surfing on your mobile. So I have to give back so I also punish myself on a small thing. So just one gemstone. If I am watch or randomly surf for 15 or more minutes. So what I found interesting about myself, and so I started playing it last week, and I realized that I do allow myself to go to YouTube or just surf randomly or do other things just to watch some videos. But I actually look at my clock and see that I'm looking like for 5-10 minutes, but never reach 15 minutes. And then I still gave myself a break, to surf, to do just like something random. But I stop and then go to what I actually want to do. And then I read, or we talk, I don't know if it was before my presentation, we had a small chat with Violetta, when you just sometimes just random thoughts or just think. We let ourselves think and not always, take our mobile and watch it. So that's game for me. Change gear, I call it, and Citrine as the gemstone for it. So and I will go to the next slide to show you that it's never rigid. It's never the same, and it's interesting, especially when you go into self-management or even habit techniques. Many people try to find an ideal tool for themselves. So some people ask, did you find an app for it, or is it something? But we try, and also with if self-management, you try to to-do lists, there are apps for it, and we try to find one and for all. It's like in most things we want just one time pill that will heal us and everything will be fun and right and everything, but it doesn't work that way. And if you look into games, so that is why I always like looking what's happening into games, even if I don't, when I relax, I don't play single player games. I play with my children, with my husband. But when I'm alone, I just play my life games. This is what I love doing, or reading games like Nora Roberts. So what you notice in games, they are never the same. And if you look into, especially the successful games like World of Warcraft or other, they develop constantly. They have people employed to actually develop them further. Look at Lego with their brilliant toys. It's just amazing what they do. They work together with Mojang, creating fun events like LegoCon and so on, where they go together. Minecraft, build the same thing in Minecraft and Lego. I mean, that's just amazing thing. So why do we in our lives trying to be like one and never change? So this is what happened in my life with I see with my games, and you can see it here. Even if it's like in February 2022, you see the Super Sleeper was there and so on. But actually, the change, there is a change in the how it was structured. Like here, there was like Citrine is not there in August 2022, so this changed now in end of February, beginning of March, and it works further. So, and I'm sure this will change in the future as well. So don't expect this to be once and for all. In life is gameful anyway, even if you take it too seriously. So, but try, to hold up the pace, and be gameful as well. And I put my feedback systems on my website, so in the gallery page, and this is earlier designs. And for example, this one I'm still doing, and it's, for example, I give myself, I can show you chat from yesterday. So if it's to-do list, it's just also another calendar. It's a daily calendar where I record that, and if I did something, then it's crossing. If I moved it to another day, then I just wavy. But when the day is done, I get a reward always. So it's not something that I, oh, you didn't do that. But actually, I get a reward, and it's a donut. So yeah, we love donuts in our family. I don't eat normal ones because I have gluten and other intolerant, but I can draw them for me. So that's what I'm doing. So yes, and so if you want to learn more, I create books, and I love writing, but I have also online courses on Udemy, and I write on Medium. So I started putting excerpts of my books there. So over 300 articles are there. So if you want to see, just find there. But these are the books I created. This was the first book I mentioned, 5-Minute Perseverance Game, and there is a 5-year edition of it. Then the thickest book on self-gamification and the short version of it, and then there is so-called Gameful Life series. This is also the avatar I have here I forgot where
Discord.
we are in Discord. Yes, thank you. Yes, and this is my latest book called Actual Real Life Role-Playing Games, a gamefully philosophical view on life and how to design and play it. And basically, it describes the 3 role-playing games that I introduce to you. And right now I'm working on another book, also on translations of other books, but my next book will be probably self-care game and what it is. So what kind of game experience it is. So it's a single massive player game, and how, to work with it, and that we have to play it alone, but we have the experience of others to tap from. So this is what I'm researching. And the other projects I can share with you is that I will be looking more into analogies between games and life, so describing emotions as games, for example, or also like look into game elements and see how they actually appear in real life. So and describing all my games. So these are the 3 big projects that will be in like next year or the years after. So yes, so thank you for listening, and I hope it brought you something. And if you want to reach out, you can find me at optimistwriter.com or other places, just searching my name, and we can chat or meet or whatever. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You.
We have actually a question in the comments in the chat YouTube. Is there an audiobook available on your materials?
Yes, on one of and this is the self-gamification happiness formula. There is an audiobook.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, only one, but there is one. Yes.
Perhaps more in the future.
Yes, perhaps. And I had a brilliant narrator I worked with. She's reading beautifully, and she's American. And I hope to work with her in the future again. Yes.
Awesome. Hey, thank you very much. And also this kind of reminded me of the MDA framework, like the emotions, what kind of emotions go on with the game. That's really like the aesthetics of the game. So that's really important to think about. Really
Absolutely,
good
yes.
good stuff. And it's really good that this is recorded so people can like come back to this video and have some thoughts. And I really like the definition of a game, because that's been the topic of many conversations and arguments on what is or isn't a game, and what does it actually have to be a game, or like, are story-based games actually games, or are they just interactive fiction? Like, do we need to call them games? And all these kind of interesting things, and there's multiple truths, I guess, in this matter, so many sides to this story. But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I have a thought here I would like to share. Is that we think, so we try to split, to make definitions. And I had a huge discussion with one of the gurus in gamification, Andrzej Masewski. And he said it's important, definitions are important, so we understand. And it's true. So we understand the components and so on. But they can be also counterproductive, because sometimes when you put definitions, you also judge. And I learned it also when you try to put an opinion. I learned it from a translator between different languages. She was teaching how to translate. And she said, when you critique a book, for example, you need to judge. But we say how to say objective, to say you need to be objective. But actually, when you say an opinion, you're already judging. And this is the role of the language, the paradox of the language. We want to say something, but we immediately put it into some boxes. So is it a game? Is it play? And so on. What elements are there? But basically, we split everything into parts, but then it's important that we bring it together and see it as a whole. So this is the thing, the trick about, is it a game? Is it not a game? But actually, everything is a game. This is the funny thing. Yeah.
This is like so interesting, because people are so different. Like, I have this really good friend who's very, well, judgmental could be one word, but he has very good points to his, like, it's really cool to, like, he had this saying that I don't know what to say, that maybe he's right, maybe he's not, that if the definition is too wide, that like everything can be a game, so then nothing is a game. So he has this viewpoint on things, and maybe it's counterproductive. That's also a good point. So maybe sometimes our definitions can tie us down, but then also on the other hand, if we can't properly define things, then everything is so subjective, and like it's tough to keep a anchor in this like sea of design, like what is or isn't. But that's a constant struggle on like viewpoints and life, like objectiveness, subjectiveness. So I guess perhaps we'll never have an answer in our lifetime or any other lifetimes in the future. So maybe that's a eternal struggle.
Yeah. Absolutely, but it's never, one time process, no one way thing. I'm also turning my life since years, I told you, and you see through the books or whatever I've done and written. But actually, also I find myself when I interact with my children, and we have to, to prepare for the next day, and my son doing, I said, stop it, it's not a game. And then thinking, wait a second, it is a game. So it's something, it's, the culture that we absorbed. And the culture, it started, for example, with 1,000 years ago with Aesop writing, there are times for game, but there is time for work. And this is what we learned. We absorbed that games are not actually work, but work is games. I think we are creating new culture where children now grow up with games. They grow up with mobile tools and so on. It's completely different. My son actually asked me, how was it for you when with using iPad when you were a child? I said, I didn't have an iPad. What about computer? I said, I didn't have a computer. He said, okay, but what did you do when you played? I said, I played with toys. Or thought, actually, imagination in myself. It's just absolutely different world now, and I think we are changing, and if we're present we can actually find out something amazing.
That's a great point, and some even like in educational systems are changing. Like I think in Hive they had this really, like coding school had this system that they like RPG'd like their skills on, like courses are like, let's say in role-playing games your character gets better and you unlock like perk points and you have this progression tree. So why not have your courses like that? So you have these kind of skills that you develop further and further, and then you can look at yourself as a student from this RPG perspective on what I have actually learned and what I know. And then as you progress in your studies, you get this skill tree in real life, what you have unlocked for yourself. So that's kind of a cool idea.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
that might enhance motivation. So yeah.
Yes, and we have that already. We just don't see it. I mean, we all complain about those reports or milestones in the project management where you have to do, there is an app with or program with project management where you can record, and project managers have to do it. But it's a game. It's nothing else. You just complain. But when you come to a game and you are presented with the rules, then you suddenly think, okay, interesting, what are the rules are about, and if you try to approach life in the same way, someone comes with a project, and usually when we start an employment project, this is what happens. We apply for a job because it sounds really great, and we come with this enthusiasm and so on, but then we have this enculturation saying work is bad. Well, it's tedious. It's just for earning money, and then you start, with this prejudice, that it couldn't be interesting and couldn't be good. Like Monday, it's always a hard day, but why? It's new day, new life, new game.
Yeah, like having purpose and like quantifying it. I think that's really important for well-being and also motivation and productivity. So the ikigai kind of this goal, which is very ambitious and lofty, but some people can reach it, or even getting a bit closer to it is also fine in this Kaizen way. Like one step at a time, make your daily life better, because that's what you'll be doing your whole life most of the time. So that's really a nice thing.
And awesome. Very, very similar to what we were talking with Matthias in the previous talk, that rehabilitation and being well, getting better is seen as a chore because of how non-motivating the techniques are currently. So from the physiotherapist perspective, anything that can bring more motivation to people and more fun into the process is a win on my part. And with my patients, I absolutely love to turn the 30 minutes or however long we have together into some kind of a game, and it gives them something to look forward to next time. It gives a little bit more change into the routine that they have had so far, and it is something new that they have not seen before. It might be that it includes exactly the same exercises that they have been instructed before, because of course in some cases we need to follow protocols, but you can also make it fun. It does not have to be just exactly the same 3 exercises done in the exact same way. So it's there's so much into gamification that could benefit daily lives. I love that you showed also your notebooks, because I think quite often people are being mentally blocked by perfectionism, that if it does not look aesthetic or if it does not look good, they get more focused on those aspects rather than how does it actually function, does it work for you. If somebody is too focused on the perfectionism aspect of it, that they want it to look good, then I would in fact recommend apps like Habitica is one of them for creating habits, that it turns your daily life habits into an RPG game, and is an app available, I believe, in most languages out there. However, having the flexibility of just a calendar and a pen, it's really good, and kind of getting away from the whole if it's not Instagrammable, you shouldn't do it kind of thing. Just do it for you and find whatever works for you.
Absolutely.
And go from there, rather than being prevented from lack of artistic skill, or just who are you doing it for, basically. Are you doing it for the Instagram people, or are you doing it for yourself? And if that is the case, then you might want to have two. That one is the aesthetically pleasing, the other one is the functional that you actually use on a day-to-day basis. But again, to the audience, you can find all of the links, everything available on the Pori ES website. That is pories.fi /pixels3. You can rewatch the stream on YouTube, on the Pori Entrepreneurship Society YouTube channel. Everything is recorded, so definitely feel free to rewatch it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Victoria. I believe LinkedIn is a very easy way to find you.
Yes.
So go connect with her on LinkedIn. Highly recommend it. And Victoria, thank you so much for coming here and for talking with us. It's always a pleasure. I could listen to whole day. Yes, and to the audience, we will be having a small lunch break, so we will be back shortly at 12:30. That is Finnish time. And at 12:30, we will have Adam Al-Sawad of Kala Gameworks, who is going to do a presentation for us.
Yes.
So stay tuned. Go grab something to eat as well.
Yeah.
And yes,
30 minutes lunch break. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
In 30.
Yes. Bye.
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 Because otherwise, I just few years, and like her notebooks are on another level. It's and like I can listen to her all day, any day. I was confused at first because I saw all the writing and the letters and the numbers and well, it's whatever. System works for the person. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she gamifies literally everything, and it became more. I don't know. Like I could understand it after she explained everything.
Let's do this. Okay, welcome everyone. We're back live here at the Satairu Auditorium, and with me I have my main man, Adam Alsawad from Kalla Gameworks. Warm welcome, glad you could make it. So please, can you do a short intro of yourself on who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, hello. I'm Adam Alsawad. I'm the composer and CFO at Kalla Gameworks, which I'll be talking about later. I was actually originally a classical composer, but I later studied audio engineering while working in the game industry, and I've been pretty much married to the game industry since 2016. I was still studying then, but I really loved making music for games, and since I had a lot of experience with being an entrepreneur, I basically became the CFO of Kalla Gameworks. The biggest titles I've worked on is the Pegasus Expedition, which I'll be talking about today, and Mindseas. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. So now you're working on the Pegasus Expedition, so that's the current game that's currently out there. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, all things in order. First, before we talk about the Pegasus Expedition, I think we need to talk about our company so that you can better understand what our background is and what our goals are in development. So, we're a studio of 8 people in Kuopio. We started the company in 2019, and we have a strong focus on immersion and atmosphere. We have special expertise and dedication into developing narrative-driven titles. And in terms of my work, our office is integrated into a multi-room music production studio. So basically, this is what I do in addition to being a lot on Google Sheets. So at my disposal, I have a lot of different instruments. I think I have one of the biggest collections of folk instruments in Finland. I have
Nice.
a lot of guitars, electronic devices, classical instruments, and the like. And this is our team. As you can see, we're not a very usual indie team. We have a narrative designer who's basically a script writer. We have me. And then, well, in addition to that, we have Janne as our lead designer. As I said, Jaakko is our narrative designer. Sami and Veti are our programmers. Jussi is helping with the game design, and Ello and Timo are our artists. So, without that out of the way, we just this winter launched the early access of the Pegasus Expedition, and we're releasing it this summer.
Awesome.
So in essence, what the Pegasus Expedition is, it's a story-driven sci-fi grand strategy PC game set in a key moment of humankind's survival. In essence, you manage your fleets, espionage, economy, and diplomatic ties to save humanity. And the big theme of our game is transitioning exploration into conquest and then survival. So basically, our game is divided into different narrative setups. So when we started out with the Pegasus Expedition, we had a few features in mind. We wanted an immersive, immense handcrafted world that made the game replayable, even though it was so story focused. We wanted a deep storyline where no one is perfect and ends will often have to justify the means, and I feel like we accomplished that pretty well. I think we've received more than one "Are we the baddies?" meme from our players, which is always really nice.
Yeah,
since it really.
and that's really cool, because I think those stories where you're always the good guy in shining armor, they've kind of been done so many times, so this kind of take is really refreshing and more like mature take, and perhaps more grim, and makes for interesting storylines and drama. So I think that's a really good move in this case, and having played the main campaign, I think it worked out quite nicely in this way. So definitely there's some really nice insights about this.
Yeah, thank you. A little bit of a company like tidbit, our narrative designer is actually originally a historian who specialized in the Balkans before he became a writer.
Okay,
So
that explains something. This probably has to do with the certain character of the crew, especially.
yeah, for sure. But I think it's a big strength because, you know, having someone who has really deep dived into the nitty-gritty of like civil war and, you know, conflict is someone who can really take that into uh, writing games, you know, especially these types of strategy games where you have so many factions and you need to build some sort of impact in their development.
Mm.
So, in addition to that, we wanted to have a versatile 4X gameplay with many plausible approaches to various challenges and campaign campaign presents. So basically, since our game is narratively driven, we didn't want our gameplay to be too micromanagement focused, since we wanted the player to be able to actually experience the story without like having 3 or 4 Excel sheets with them at all times. And at least I'm pretty proud of what we achieved there. We've had a lot of good feedback on that, and also, like I said, we needed a lot of different factions to create a dynamic environment for the player. So we have over 30 independent factions, and our combat is planning based. So we, as in our other gameplay, we didn't want it to be too micromanagement intensive. So basically, our combat is simulating you being commander far away from the battlefield. So basically, what you do is you choose the strategy for your fleet and give out some specific commands. But aside from that, your admirals will try to enact what you've told them to do. So, all in all, our game was well received and the early access development has gone well. Players have been pretty satisfied with the story, the characters, the gameplay, and all in all, it's been a very pleasant experience working on the Pegasus expedition. How were we received? We are mostly positive on Steam, and we got very good reviews, which I'm pretty proud of. PC Gamer actually said that we smartly reinvented the genre's early game, which was very nice. We got a lot of positive feedback for our story, which was very important. And all in all, even though our 4X mechanics weren't as intensive as a lot of other games, we got a lot of praise for our mechanical side as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice comparison to Mass Effect. I think it has, like, I didn't think about that before, but now that it's said, some things click really nicely because you have these crewmates and like especially the moral discussions between them and the different takes on different things and different people approving or disapproving your actions and you can't please everyone, so that's really definitely something.
For sure. And definitely our team has a lot of Mass Effect fans, so even though we didn't like specifically aim to create specifically the feel of Mass Effect, I think it's a very good sign that players and reviewers came to that conclusion on their own, and really at least made us proud of our game.
Definitely.
So when we started out with the game, started looking for funding, this is how I originally envisioned the soundtrack. So basically, the Pegasus Expedition would feature an ethereal sci-fi soundtrack by myself, which delves deep into melodic ambient in a never seen before way. And also, from the beginning, I knew that we wanted vocals from my friend Aleksandra Eskelinen, and hints of post-rock and cinematic minimalism. And that's pretty much what we have achieved. So in essence, in my soundtrack, I wanted it to mirror the sense of desperate wonder, with players drifting through discovery after discovery, with the fate of humanity in their hands. So basically, the premise of the story is that humanity is in danger. You need to go to another galaxy with very limited preparations and try and save humanity in any way possible, be it by finding some new home or finding a solution to beat the war back at home. But since this is a 4X game, it couldn't be too intense. We couldn't have the music pumping in the players' ears while they're like managing their economy or something like that. So what I wanted to do was have an overarching sense of leering urgency. So basically, have the music be ambient, have it reflect confronting the unknown, exploring space, but still have some desperation to it. And what I did was I as a basis for the soundtrack, I had a lot of rich synthesizers. What I mean by rich is have them have more elements to them, so that when you're listening to them, there's always something living, always something moving in their sound. And also ethereal post-rock elements were pretty important. I really fell in love with using post-rock guitar and bass in some tracks, but of course, since those elements didn't fit into everything, it's far in between where the post-rock really builds up into the soundtrack. And in addition to that, I'm really proud of Aleksandra Eskelinen, the vocalist for our soundtrack. She really could encapsulate what I was looking for. Actually, another tidbit, when we were recording her tracks, I actually told her to imagine that she was a refugee in a spaceship, like looking into outer space with a baby in her arms, not knowing what would come of humanity. And after I gave her that example, wow, she really did a great job.
Well, that's really interesting. Like, and these kind of cues for performance can be like really crucial on getting the exact kind of performance you're looking for. That's really interesting to know, this backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So, in short, that's pretty much everything in terms of presenting the game and my soundtrack. I really look forward to talking with you about it, though, since you just finished it.
Awesome. Hey, that's really, really cool. And especially like that was so good, like inside this kind of like holding a baby, looking out into the future of humanity. That was so, like very poetic, and I think it works really nicely. Yeah, so definitely. So I played the Pegasus Expedition. I think it was a bit over a month ago. So the new current like updates, the content updates, new scenarios. I haven't tried those yet, but I finished the campaign as it was before those content updates. So that's the context here. So I really like that was also interesting, one of the comments reviews. So the early game especially. So that's when you get hit with the storyline and you start out small. And usually 4X games can be a bit like, let's say, boring in the start, maybe. But on the other hand, sometimes they roll really quickly, so you don't have to make many decisions per turn, so the turns go really fast. But now that you have the story, you get something interesting from the get-go. And also, it's an interesting way, like, story-wise, usually, backstory here, because when you go into the galaxy, it's already populated. So what happens when, like, humanity goes into a place where it's already, like, a stable ecosystem, and now we're the hostile invasive species, but for a reason, because if we don't do so as humanity, then they're doomed, so they will all die. So then the question becomes, like, how much is justified aggression and invasion, depending on the circumstances, and what is not? And depending on who you ask, the answers would be definitely different. And some people might even go like all the way. And also, to even compound this, it might even go way beyond morality, and they might think it pragmatically. So let's say first, we come in peace, no worries, and try to keep it on the down low as long as possible because of pragmatic reasons, because you don't want to make enemies too soon until you absolutely have to.
Definitely. And I think other important part of that is that you're not the only human fleet there. So for those of you who haven't played the game, basically there are 3 human fleets from different parts of the world. And what happens is you have the Earth War Council, which has representatives from all the human fleets, and you have to discuss with other human factions what you actually want to do, and the different factions have their own opinions, and you can influence what they do and how they act in the Earth War Council. So there, as you said, there are some factions who or there's another faction who wants to go just in all out war, just save humanity as fast as possible, get the resources, bomb the aliens, and then then another human might like have a very pragmatic viewpoint, like, hey, if we start using nuclear weapons all around the galaxy, then we really can't have a long end goal here because everyone will hate us. So we should try diplomacy. We should try actually integrating into this galaxy, though, so that we can actually learn from these aliens and use that to our disposal.
Yeah. Also, there was a comment from Henri Tikkala who said that I was in an opera with Alexandra Eskelinen last year. So people know him. So that's really cool. And Henri is one of our new AT students also. So
Cool,
small
cool.
circles around Finland, I guess. So everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Also, this is something that this is my personal take. What was kind of interesting towards the late game, the Pegasus, now you got like this new galaxy you cut and you get a nice big piece out of it. You get like multiple nice colonies and everything to save one planet back home.
Yeah.
Isn't the new galaxy now like, hey, this is much better than like that old Earth there? Is there something like backstory that's not explained in the game? Like, is the Earth like Milky Way galaxy? How large is the stranglehold over there? Is it just Earth, or how large is what Earth Dominion is there over there back home?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the game, in the first cutscenes, I think that we talk about how humanity has been in terrible bloody war for a very long time with alien species. And the only thing we have anymore is the Sol system, so basically Earth and the other planets there. And that's actually a very good point that actually other humans bring up in the campaign, like, why don't we just settle here? What's so important about the Earth? But I think there's also some like gray area discussion and something you need to think about, like what's the importance of Earth and our birth planet to humanity, and how different human factions might think about that.
I think that ties a little bit into the previous conversation we had with Victoria Kisley-Bartels on designing a game requires you to also think about how you want the player to feel while playing the game. And
Exactly.
adding music to it is one way to do it. It's not just about the mechanics of the game themselves or the features of the game. It's the overall feel of the game that it can be make it or break it. And in the AT conference, you mentioned in your talk that if the first thing a person does when starting a game is to mute the sound, then that means that the sound design has failed, because it should not be overpowering. It should be supporting the game and the game progression and how you want the player to feel while playing your game. And I think it is such an important factor and part of why people think fondly back at games that they have played once. It could be that the game was overall very mediocre, but the sound made them feel in a way that they had a really good time. So it had remained in their memories, or maybe it had led to multiple replays afterwards just because they had such a good experience and felt fulfilled and emotionally connected to it. And I think it's a very important part, thinking from not necessarily just performance aspect, but also from an entertainment aspect, because a lot of games are played for the entertainment value. despite also being able to learn skills from them and learn different ways of thinking through games, the entertainment value is why most people reach for games. And having this emotional roller coaster throughout a game usually leads to a very good experience.
Yes, definitely. Actually, what I do in my composing is I have blind tests. So basically, when we're aiming for a specific feel, a specific theme, specific emotions we want the player to feel, or like specific visions they want to have of what the game is aiming for, uh, I have a test audience listening to the music, and I don't tell them anything. I just ask like, what do you envision this music meaning, or what does it make you feel, and what gameplay or cinema or whatever do you think that would be fitting for this? And more often than not, actually, especially with our background music, I did get the feedback that, oh, I felt like I was exploring space or something like that, and that was very nice. And actually, a very, very positive part of being published by Fulcrum Publishing was that their Q&A was very good. They actually gave feedback on the music as well, which was very nice. And through that feedback, we also got a lot of insight into how it affected gameplay.
Maybe
Awesome.
in the next Pixels event, we can have you run a whole workshop on how to make people feel things. Because I have the feeling that the half an hour was absolutely not enough.
Yeah,
But then again, that's always the case. We,
Mm.
like I mentioned before, we can listen to you talk all day, any day, and it will
Definitely.
always be a pleasure. Yes.
Thank you.
But-
Also, one thing like about the feelings, there was this certain plot story point, like trying not to spoil anything, but there was a certain key moment in the campaign with a plot twist of a arrival of a new enemy, and it really gave me the same kind of feelings back in the day with the Halo series and the Flood. So that was a nice thing. And then like also towards the end where you kind of switch up and you have to go on the aggressor once again. So that's really cool things. So these kind of things can really like make a fresh start in the campaign. Also, sort of reminded me of High Fleet, that new Microprose game, like the final like ending part of that game when like everything is suddenly against you. So that kind of also is a bit similar. These are kind of good things, like surprising big moments of change. So you can't do the same things you used to. You're now forced to react to a new situation that's like galaxy-wide, and it affects everyone on the map. So that changes things up and keeps things really nice and smooth. Awesome.
Yes,
Do we have any
sure.
questions, comments from the live chat or audience?
Big smiles is what we have here.
Yes. Please don't be shy. Do you have any questions? You can come up here and ask.
If
Nope.
anything comes up later, you can get Adam's contact through the Pori's website. Everything is linked there. You can find the website to Gallo Gameworks, so that is pori.fi or .fi for the foreign audiences, and just shout out in the chat how much you want Adam to make an appearance on next year's Pixels, and we will make that happen. Could be also live from here in person. So we'll try to get this done. Otherwise, thank you, Adam, once again, and it's always an absolute pleasure. Hopefully, the game launch proper will happen soon and everything will go nicely, and definitely looking forward to what else you put out.
We have one question.
Okay.
We have one question from Henry, actually. He's also a professional musician. This is also in context. What was your path from music composition to game audio? I'm on the same road myself, so I'm interested to hear.
Well, actually, originally I was studying music just to have it as like a hobby that I could enact professionally. my two career options were composer or psychotherapist. So what I did was I was studying music and then studying psychology in the Kuopion avoin yliopisto at the same time.
Hmm.
This was because I thought that composing music was too risky for a profession. But
Ah.
what ended up happening was that I started getting clients already while studying, and my grades were so good that the school I was in offered me a scholarship for extra like specialization in composing, and then after that I studied audio engineering, or the Finnish word is pretty old-fashioned. I think it was decided upon in the 70s or something. Musiikkiteknologia.
Okay,
So
I see.
that's what I studied, and that's pretty much it. I was already working in the game industry at that point, and I think a very important part was just learning music production and learning how to mix and master your own music. I actually don't do sound design very much, so I'm definitely a composer. I haven't specialized in like sound design or audio design that much. So I can't really give details if you want to specialize in making sound effects, but if you're interested in learning more about how to make game soundtracks or how to further your path, especially if you're studying in Finland, then I can definitely give some hints for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Adam, and everyone, please feel free if you're interested. Contact Adam. Perhaps on LinkedIn is probably a good place.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, once again, big thanks to Adam. Thank you so much for coming. Excellent talk, good conversations, and we will probably see again in the near future in new events.
Thank you guys. You guys are definitely my favorite hosts.
Aw, thank you. And for our audience, we will be back shortly with our second speaker of the day. She will run a workshop on a little bit more on the business side. So we will be joined by Josefina Kotilainen from the Startup Foundation, who will talk to us more about how to start a company. So building upon last year's topics. So stay tuned, and we will be back shortly.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. We are back from the small technical break. We are joined now by Josefina Kotilainen of the Startup Foundation, who will switch up the topics a little bit and bring it more towards the business side. For those of you who participated last year, you were present for a workshop on the differences between entrepreneurship and freelancing. For those of you who were not present, you can find the entire workshop on our YouTube channel, that is Pori Entrepreneurship Society at YouTube. So you can find the Pixels 2 whole stream from last year and a lot of good content on there. That being said, this year's stream is also recorded, so you will have access to everything mentioned today. If there's too much information in too short amount of time, feel free to go back and rewatch it. If you get any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment sections, and we will make sure to get them to the right people and get you back the answer. If you are now watching us live, you are able to comment and send your questions. I think the YouTube stream is the easiest way to do that. However, via Discord is also okay. So we are currently having the watch party at the International College Jam to Discord, as well as on the Pori ES Discord. So links to everything you will find on the pories.fi website. So feel free to do that. And Josefina, thank you for joining us today. I'm personally very excited to hear your workshop, and this has been something that we have talked about already since last year within Pori ES, that it would be great to have such content. And while the Startup Foundation is based in Finland, the information is most certainly something that people from abroad can take points on, as well as now that the International College Jam has been going on, a lot of teams have participants from both Finland and other countries. So definitely take notes if you have found teammates that share the same viewpoints as you do and that you have enjoyed working with. Keep those contacts close, because it could be that you form the next best game studio in the future. And if that is part of your plan at some point, then you should pay very close attention to this workshop. Definitely. Because you will need money.
Yep. Yeah. No money, no power, no connections, no power. Basically, networks are powerful, so that's exactly right.
Yes. So could you please tell us about yourself and about the Startup Foundation?
Yeah, of course. I actually have a couple of slides about these as well, to give myself some notes on the topic. So firstly, about the Startup Foundation. So our mission is to support entrepreneurs and increase entrepreneurial mindset. So our focus at the foundation is very much on the very, very early stages of startup journey. So we call it from -1 to 1. So inspiring people towards entrepreneurship, getting them to understand what it actually means, and then the very early stages of the company's journey. So the actual founding of the company, and then the earliest days when you're still kind of trying to figure things out before your first funding rounds is what we focus on. We've been around for a bit over 10 years. And we also work with a couple other kind of startup related companies. So we are the kind of like the silent backbone behind Slush, Junction, The Shortcut, and Maria01. So very linked with the ecosystem and like players who also help startups forward in Finland, especially. And then a little bit about me. So my name is Josefina. I've been with the foundation for about half a year, so not too long yet. Before that, I used to work in venture capital. So very much kind of like a different viewpoint into the startup world from there. I was in a VC fund for about 5 years. And prior to that, I was also a team member at Slush, so worked there as the CFO for a couple of years. So very much a kind of like a startup ecosystem perspective. I've seen many early stage companies and what's happening in there. I think that's shortly about me and the Startup Foundation. Then I could probably jump into the actual content. So I split today's thoughts into 3 different topics. I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea stage, where most of you probably are at, where you're kind of like already have some kind of thoughts on what you might want to build, what your product might maybe look like, and then a bit about the actual founding of the company. What are the things that you might want to keep in mind? The actual physical doing of the founding of the company, what you need to do, what are the resources that are available in the early stages, and then a little bit also about the growth part. So what are the different pathways that you can take? What are the things that you can kind of like, you already mentioned the funding part. How could you go about that? What are the different resources available? What might that require? Obviously, I can't include everything and all the options in kind of like a shortish presentation like this, but just to give like some idea on that already, because the different pathways of growth require different types of companies and different types of mindsets. So kind of getting that idea in your head as early as possible that there are different ways to build companies. So starting with the idea phase. So when you're still thinking about what you're going to build, what is your product, I think the first good thing to do is just test your idea. The last point in this slide is Google is your friend, and I think it applies to all the other points here as well. When you're thinking about testing whatever you're building, if it is a mobile game, for example, put that into Google, how to test your game, how to find your potential customers, what are the things that you could do there. There are a lot of resources available online on how to build companies, and especially for games, there's a lot of content out there. Figuring out if you have a market, also a lot of resources, a lot of different consulting firms, for example, or other gaming studios have published a lot of research on what the market looks like, what are the next things, what are the things that people want to see in different places. Then one thing that I feel is good to think about already in the idea stage, at least at some point, not the first thing that you should be thinking about, is how do you actually make money? So what's your business model? Do you want the game to cost something? Do you want to go off of ad revenue? If it's ad revenue, how are you going to go about it? How are you going to kind of like build that process? So going through that, like very early stage thinking on what it could be, what are your values, what do you feel is the best way for you? Do you not like ads at all? Then you need to think of something else. What's the way that you can actually like get something yourself as well, rather than only external funding? And then also the team. I think that's definitely something that you might have already figured out a little bit. The people that you've been working with, maybe they are your team already, maybe you have a great combination, but also thinking about like what are the skills that you're going to need in the very early stages. So do you need someone who has like a business mindset? Do you need someone who understands marketing? What's the way that you're gonna kind of like go to market with your product? Are there some certain skills that you would need there? But also kind of like thinking a bit further than the team. I think especially the Finnish startup ecosystem is very helpful. So if you feel like you want to understand a little bit better on like how to do this and that, there are a lot of people around you that you can ask for help. And I feel that if you just write your letter or message in a clear way where you have a clear ask on what you want to learn more about, most people really will want to have a chat with you and help you understand what your next steps could be, what are the metrics that you should be measuring in a company, or like in a company that's similar to yours. What are the things that you should especially pay attention to? Different types of companies have very different things that you should be looking at, but then obviously some things are very similar in the early companies. Like, for example, it's always tricky to find your team members and get your early hires and things like that. But as said in the beginning, Google really is your friend. There is a lot of material out there that you can use. The how-to XYZ is always a good way to approach different topics. We also have some help at the foundation. So we've just launched at the beginning of the year individual grants, which are for the idea stage. So when you don't have a company set up yet, but you need some more time to figure out kind of like do a deep dive into the market or into the customers or your business model. Obviously, you need to have some thought put into the company already or the idea already in order to have a clear picture and what you want to achieve during the time that we support the research phase. So understanding how companies are built before applying for our grant, for example, is very, very important. So understanding what kind of needs to be decided, what are the things that you should already be thinking about, how the process of thinking about or formulating your company idea goes. Yeah. Then the actual founding of a company. I've collected a list of resources that I'm also going to talk a little bit about. The first one is yrittäjät.fi. So they have a huge data bank on different types of things that you should probably pay attention to when you're thinking of founding a company. They have a complete guide on how to found a company in the Finnish system. Most of their material, I think, is in Finnish, so especially the Finnish listeners pay attention to this one. But they have a very comprehensive guide on what are the steps that you should do, what are the things that you should think about when you're actually putting up an LTD, and like the very concrete steps as well. Then the next link I have there is the trade registry, and this is where you would actually do the registration of the company. In Finland, this is very, very easy. You can do everything online as long as you have your bank ID. If you want to do something special in the kind of like rules of the company, then you need to go through a longer process. But if you take the kind of like standard deal of putting up a company, which I think is quite good. And if you have €0 as your kind of like starting capital, then you can do it completely online with just your bank ID. And obviously it does cost, I think it's like €200 to actually do the registration. But other than that, that's the only thing that you need in getting the actual company registered. And the next link there is to Starttiraha, which is, and I think a free translation is just like starting money, which is something that I really like about the Finnish system. So when you're putting up a new company, and this needs to be done before you actually register a company, you can apply for this starting grant where you get some kind of like support to the early team. And the maximum amount of, or the time that you can be supported is a year, which is a really long time. And the amount of support is quite good as well. You can apply later after you've started your company if you haven't been working full-time on the company. So for example, if you put up your company and then start working while you're studying at the same time, for example, you can apply for starttiraha, so the start money, when you start working or just before you start working full-time on your company. So it also helps in moving to the full-time work. And I think this is a great research for any starting entrepreneur. The big thing is that you need to apply either before you start the company or then before you start working full-time on your idea. But this is definitely one of the bigger benefits of the Finnish system. There are some other grants in Finland as well that you can get after starting your company that are more towards like innovative ideas. So you would have to have some kind of like new thing or a new kind of like idea there. So Business Finland has a lot of grant support, and then also some like loans with really good terms that you can use in the quite early stages of the company. Some of them require that you get an outside investment as well, but some of them are just grants without like any preset conditions other than doing a good application and explaining what use you could have from there. Then the next link is to a course called Starting Up. It's a university level online course that you can actually get credits from as well, that you can do for free. And that goes through all of the phases that you would have to go through when putting up a company as well. And you're kind of thinking about a business idea, the whole process when you're doing that course. So I think it's something that can be really useful if you're thinking about putting up a company, then maybe doing that course and thinking about your idea and reflecting at the same time. I think that can give a lot of like insight and thoughts into your kind of like company building process as well, and maybe also insight in whether you actually want to become a founder in a company or not, if that's the path for you. It focused very much on like scalable business models, but I think like especially for games, that's very relevant in that sense. Then the next link is to Helsinki Think Company, which is kind of like a entrepreneurship society type player with a bit more resources. They've gathered a knowledge bank on their website where you can find thoughts on how to found your company, what are the different resources that you could have. They also have a list of accelerators in Finland that you could attend. And just like generally, they've gathered a lot of information on startups and what are the things that you could be thinking about. I really love how they've structured the materials there. I would encourage everyone to go check it out as well to understand a bit better what are the types of things that you might want to be looking at as well. Then I have a link to the Finnish Business Angel Network. They are, I think, the first place where you can go talking with angel investors and understanding what are the things that angel investors might want to understand and see in very early stage companies. Obviously, not everyone takes angel money, but it can be a good way to start growing your company, and also a good way to kind of reflect on whether you've actually thought about all the things that you should be thinking about when founding your company. So a good idea to talk with people, especially investors and angel investors, to see what questions they ask. Is there something that you really haven't been thinking about that they seem to be paying a lot of attention to? Those are really the things that can help you forward quite a bit when you hear feedback from someone else. And the last one, Y Combinator, is an accelerator in the United States, one of the best known accelerators in the world. They've had very many successful cases going through their program, and they've collected a library of knowledge. You can search based on different topics, based on different business models, based on different company types. They have a lot of content revolving around gaming startups, for example. But they also have a lot of content on how to approach venture capital. What are the things that VCs are looking for? What are the things that angel investors are looking for? What are the things that you should kind of like think through in your business model? Really just a lot of content that you can scroll through. They do also have kind of like a startup school when you go to their website, where you can enroll, where they go through the basics of how you can kind of like run your company. So very much a lot of very interesting and good content. The only problem is that there is so much content, it can be hard to navigate sometimes. But if you know what you're looking for or know what you want to know more about, I think it's a really, really good resource to go through. So if you want a simple guide, then I would go to the Helsinki Think Company page. Very kind of like a much smaller and very like clearly these areas, and then Y Combinator is just a pool of a lot of information, high quality information, but still a lot of information, and you kind of need to know what you're looking for if you want to go there. Then a little bit about the growing part. So what could be the paths forward when you kind of like had your idea and registered your company and started the early days of building your company. So the first thing can be joining an accelerator. There are many, many accelerators and incubators in all countries. I picked one from Finland called Kiwas, which is running in Helsinki. But there are many, many others. You can just Google accelerators or Google incubators in Finland, or Google accelerators in your city or abroad, wherever you are. I think accelerators are especially good if you don't have the network that you feel that you need. So they are very good.
Soon enough. So
Yeah, I had a bad
Okay,
feeling.
perfect.
I tried my best to like knock on wood, but maybe this doesn't count. This is like laminated or something. But yeah.
Wrong
we
type of
we
wood.
can
happens,
give
it
it we
happens.
can give it a couple minutes, and just to yeah, it's already back up, but just to make a request for all the links in the presentation. Would it be possible to just copy paste them in a message, and then I can forward them to the chats of people watching?
Sure.
Because some of them are
Of
quite
course.
long. And I would also add that most of these links, even if it's a Finnish website, they do have very good amount of information also in English.
Yeah.
Like one example would be Pori Entrepreneurship Society. I'm one of the co-founders, and we had to go through most of the process. It is a registered organization, and
Yeah.
there is a very good amount of English guides on how to start a business or how to start an organization. There is full support in English as well. All the banks offer it as well. You know, if anyone decides to start a company or needs to know more, particularly about the Nordic market, I think Finland does offer very good amount of resources when it comes to that.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
don't be
very
afraid
much.
that these are Finnish links. And we will get them to you. You know, it could be that either at the end of the session today, or before the full stream on YouTube is published, we will have the links available in the comment section there. So make sure you go back and check those out. You know, pay attention to the stream now, and you can check the links later. But we are back live after a small hiccup on YouTube's behalf. So if you could just kind of summarize the accelerator from the beginning. It cut off pretty much 10 seconds since the speech was starting. So a quick rewind.
A quick rewind on accelerator. So one example from Finland on the list there as a link. Kiwas. Google, very much your friend in figuring out what accelerators you have locally, or what you have in Finland, or what you have in your country. There are a lot of them available. And when I feel accelerators are good is if you don't have the network, or if you need help in understanding how to build your company and what are the next steps there. So very good in helping you network, very good in helping you understand who you should be speaking to, how you should go about customer interviews and things like that. Different accelerators also might have different focus points on what stage companies they're looking at. So I would very much encourage you to do your research if you feel that this is something that could help you in understanding what stage, what types of companies maybe you would or the accelerators are supporting. I would also think that if you're building a company, if you've registered a company in Finland, for example, you can still go to a Swedish accelerator. That's completely fine. Most of them do accept international applicants. So if you find an accelerator abroad that really fits what you want to do and what you want to understand more about, please do apply. They're not that specific on countries. Some of them require you to actually go there physically to where they're at, but a lot of accelerators also have online programs and online materials or online sessions. So there's a lot of options available on that side. Then bootstrapping, and this means growing your business without external funding. So essentially relying on revenue that you're getting from directly from customers or from ads or whatever it might be. It can be quite tricky in the gaming world. Most gaming companies spend a lot of time and resources on actually building the game. Obviously depends on what type it is. So it might mean that it is very difficult to do bootstrapping. But then again, I've seen examples of that as well. So I wouldn't completely rule it out for gaming companies either. And then obviously we also have venture capital. It is very much intended for scalable business models. So think growing to the size of like Spotify or growing to the size of Supercell or companies like that. So that needs to be your goal if you want to look at venture capital. The Finnish Venture Capital Association, FVCA, and Finnish Pääomasijoittajat have a very good tool on their website on finding investors. You can fill in the stage you're at, what type of company you are, and it will give you a list of their members only, but still it will give you a list of different venture capital firms that could be a fit for you. And then obviously going through their website and seeing like what type of companies or what stage companies they like to invest in. Also, again, Google, very much your friend here. If you're looking for investors that are focused specifically on gaming, for example, there are a couple like Play Ventures based here, but a lot of them have a very global mandate in investing, so they can invest in any country in the world or perhaps just Europe, but still there are a lot of lists on investors focusing on certain topics that you can find on Google. I also added a link on investment documents. So in Finland, a lot of the investments here are made based on the Series Seed templates that you can download if you want to. There are a lot of different types of terms and different kind of like things that are usually agreed on in investment agreements that you can find there. So a very, very good resource to go through. There are a lot of materials on venture capital online. A lot of VC firms, venture capital firms have written blog posts about what are the things that they want to see in companies, what are the metrics that they follow. They might be looking at like daily active users, for example. So how many people are actively using your product every single day? How long of a time are they spending? So understanding the metrics that venture capitalists look at and want to see, and what kind of numbers they want to see in different stages is very, very important. And especially for games, a lot of people also want to see how much money you're spending, for example, on getting new customers. But as said, there's a lot of material on this if you just spend some time on Google and understand that venture capital and then like whatever you want to, venture capital metrics for gaming companies, for example. I'm sure you'll get loads of content on that. And obviously these aren't the only ways you can go. You can just get an angel investor and stop your journey there in terms of like the high growth path, or then just growing at a steady pace. So these aren't the only options. These are just perhaps the typical ones in the startup world. But obviously make your own journey and think about what's right for you. This was all of my material. I'm happy to hear some questions, and I will definitely give the links to Violetta so that she can post those to all of you as well.
Thank you so much. And I think even like the whole PowerPoint, if you could share that, and then we can make sure that
fine as well.
That everybody gets it, and that all the links and everything has been copied to the correct locations, because we have quite a few locations today to share the information to. But we will do our best to make sure that everybody gets the information. Lots of very, very useful information. One question, why should people consider starting a company in Finland specifically? what benefits
I think-
are there to that?
Yeah, I think the Finnish system is really supportive and very early stage founders. For example, the Starttiraha and all the grant support that you can get in the very early phases is just extremely good compared to a lot of other countries. So I think that's really a good thing here. The other kind of like very game specific is that we have a very good community here, and people are very, very ready to help. And I think it differs on country to country. I think everyone in Finland is just happy to help other people who are putting up new companies. So I think we have a very unique ecosystem here in that sense, especially for building games.
Definitely. And also another question that was kind of like a special interest to me, especially the Satakunta region would definitely need more new gaming companies. That would be really, really nice. So do you have any like really concrete, like how to get this like starting funding? Because that's a really, like you said, bootstrapping is really difficult for games because you need a lot of capital to make the game. It's a long process. It's risky. It's saturated. So there's many challenges for companies without capital. What advice would you have for people who want to create a new company in this like global market?
Yeah. I think we have a very active angel investor network in Finland. I would go to the Finnish Business Angel Network website and see if there is a match there, but also reach out directly to people who've either invested in gaming companies before or are working in bigger gaming companies that could be interested in doing that as well. And then talking with other people who built companies. I think that's always the best resource in understanding how did they go about it? What are the learnings that they had? What are the places that they thought were the kind of like best to get funding to get started? But honestly, I think like, for example, the Starttiraha is actually quite good in helping you with the first year. And if you can get some things done in that time, I feel that you're in a good stage, a good place also to figure out the next steps and funding. And then a couple of the grants require a small kind of like investment into the company so that you can get the grant. So getting a couple angel investors on board who believe in your vision, believe in your team, and then getting that grant to kind of like double that money that you got from there. I think there are a lot of different ways to go about it. And I completely, as I said, bootstrapping is a bit tricky when especially if you're building something a bit bigger in the gaming space. But also the gaming industry, VC investors, if you have a good track record, if you have a lot of things that you can show that you've done before, for example, or have a good idea and a very like a good team behind you, they can do investments in very early stages and earlier than what like kind of like typical venture capital maybe does.
That's very good to know, because this is one of the more important but less talked about facts about game development. People always think about the product but not the company or how it like actually is even finished the even project. They have a nice idea and they might have a nice team and they have a lot of motivation and enthusiasm and they might even somehow make the project, but what then? What about the marketing? What about the company? What about the next project? So which is kind of grim in the way that many game companies in Finland or worldwide go bankrupt within 2 years of conception. So and of course it's a tough business either way, but having this plan of what to do is very, very important in order to have a better chance of making it. So this is very helpful, very important key knowledge to avoid this kind of fate or be more prepared in the future. So big thanks for that, for helping out, because I feel it's very, very important.
And I think building upon that, one very common path for especially indie game companies is to go through crowdsourcing. So Kickstarter being one of those. And while Kickstarter has a very good reputation, some of very, very fantastic products have come out of Kickstarter. It has also become synonymous about very high risk of companies who they have a very good idea. They have made a very nice presentation. Their team can probably technically deliver the product that they want, and they might get some funding. They might get a lot of funding because people are very captivated but by their pitch. However, upon finishing the crowdfunding round, the company releases a game or completely underestimates the amount of money that they ask for, consequently cannot deliver because they did not address the extra costs relating to it. So do you have any advices for people who might decide to go on the crowdfunding or along that path as financing route?
Yeah, I think it's a good option as well. One like key difficulty with crowdfunding can also be that if you get too many lines in your cap table, so basically too many different types of owners, it can be tricky to go down the VC path later because they really want to see a clean ownership list. That's not too long. So that's very much a pitfall there. And I think for a lot of like companies going into crowdfunding, they think that will kind of like solve their issues with the business model. So I think that's something that you really have to have clear in your mind on how are you going to make money after the crowdfunding campaign. So I would say that the crowdfunding, being like very realistic about what is it that you need the money for from there, and then being very realistic on what are the revenue sources afterwards, what are the things after you've kind of like maybe built the game, where do you actually get money after that, and what's the kind of like way that you want to go building the company from there. So I think that's where most of the people go wrong. They go to crowdfunding with the idea that they will get the game built with this funding, but don't think the step further of like what's the next step afterwards.
Yeah, and that probably is a very big contributing factor to this statistic that many game companies go bankrupt because the only plan is the game now, and the whole reason the company exists is to deliver that game, and then whatever happens after that is simply bonus, which is not really a way to build a company, of course, because that's product only. It's not the company, it's not a business. It's just a way of like giving birth to something, a one thing out there. And then I think lack of vision is really
and there are so many different business models that you can use in gaming companies. There are so many different avenues that you can go with there, but you kind of need to keep those in mind while building the game, because a lot of the things are things that you need to build into that game in order to get those to work, rather than start thinking about them after you've built the game. So you're kind of like ruling a lot of options out if you're only thinking about your business model after you've built what you want to build.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's really important to have someone in the team who knows the business side. So it's not only the dreamers, the visionaries, the designers, the programmers, but the business knowledge is really key to avoiding this kind of fate. So I think that's really, really important to like boil down everything. Like, are you making a company or are you making a game? So which one is it? Or is it the game for the company or the company for the game? So I think that's really, really, really cool
and
to think about.
I would really encourage everyone who's actually involved in building the game as well to understand the different ways of how you can make money as well, because I think that can bring like good elements into the gameplay as well when you actually understand what are the ways that you can kind of also monetize. So not only just bringing the business person to build the business, but bringing them, but also making sure the whole team understands what are the things that can be done, what are the different business models, so that you can have a conversation where everyone's kind of like at least almost on the same level of understanding on how to build a gaming business, so that everyone's kind of working towards a common goal, rather than this business person coming in to tell like, hey, we need money from this and this and this, and then the people actually building the game are like, oh, not a good idea, I don't really want to bring this part here. But everyone being in the same conversation on like, okay, hey, maybe we can do this here at this part so that we can get money from this thing, and then from here, and this is kind of like fits with the gameplay as well, rather than just like implement this business thing into this game, but building it as a combination of understanding both of those things at the same time.
Definitely, yes. And I think the best case scenario would be that the team together like understands this even before founding the company, so they have this common vision, like this is the plan, like strategic, and the one game is like one tactical decision in the grand campaign, so to say. So the company is the long-term goal, and the game is like one step on the journey. So, and perhaps that's something to consider for indies. Like perhaps they make too large games sometimes, so it becomes the strategy goal. Like just making that one game is such a huge leap, several years of hard work with no guarantees of anything. So what about smaller games that you can release more often? Like what about one game a year, 2 games a year? Like what the kind of pace of release is? So if one game flops, is that the end of everything? Like, or how can you even summon enough money to make this new massive push of making a new game? You need more funders, more equity to share, and then like how can you muster this kind of seeding round if you make big games? Like where's the cash flow? How are you gonna operate? And especially if they want to grow the company, then the running costs get even higher, risk gets higher, production times get higher. So all these kind of things come. So it's a very slippery slope probably, and many pitfalls in this kind of business. So keeping a good plan from the get-go is probably very, very important key to success.
And I would say that adding to it, there are a few examples of game studios who, and this is particularly for those of you viewers who might have found a very nice partner during these game jams, or will find such partners and like-minded developers in future game jams. One example that comes to mind is Helltaker as a game. It's a very small game. It is very, very simple looking, very fun, great music. However, it is completely free. So the studio made this game specifically to gain attention towards the studio. It's like, hey, we can make a fun new little game. The game was fairly simply done. It didn't take a lot of resources, and what the company can then use that for is, hey, here is a concrete example of a game that is overwhelmingly positive received on Steam. People love it. There is a very good community built around it, and that is playing the long game in the industry, that they created this small thing that cost very little, that took very little time and resources. They released it, they built the reputation. Then when they're actually working on the game, whichever product they decide to release in the future, they already have their market share, and they can use that strategically for getting investors. I would go as far as to say that jam games, from what we have seen, at least from previous jams, there have been those that have been very, very close to being a fully fledged game that is perfectly releasable. And I would highly encourage people to really look into the business aspect of things, because it could just be that you already have something that is worth something within the industry, or that you could leverage in the future when you decide to look for future investment to whatever project that you're looking for, or clients. And I think that is also very, very mindful and very safe way to go about it, that you know you're capable, you have already done the hard work, you can show results for it, and then it's a lot less risky and a lot less exhausting business to get investors who want to give you money to continue working on whatever is the next thing you want to do.
And adding to that, I think really good points. And I think jams are really great for many reasons. One is like track record, so you can make fun games in a short amount of time. Like this college jam, we have 4 days time to make a game, which is really short. And also because there's a random theme, you can't really plan that much in advance. You gotta think on your feet, be creative, be this kind of like innovative person. Also, usually the teams are also like built on site on the day. So of course you can come solo or have a pre-built team, but still you got to be flexible and cooperate with people and do this collaborative work, which like develops your own teamwork skills. And then of course it's really nice when we have these Friday like after party streams where a pro streamer will play the games that are made. So there you can see exactly like how, like, is this fun? How will people actually react to this game? So it's a really nice experience. Like, hey, wait a second, this like prototype is pretty good actually. Maybe it could be further developed into a bigger project. And you can really clearly see like what people understand and don't understand, and also you learn a lot about the games other people made. So it's a really nice like ecosystem of fast progression, like cutting out all the unnecessary criticism and just have fun and make some silly games even, and just challenge like all you got and make something cool. And every once in a while, like every time we see a few games that are like, wow, that's amazing, like really, really cool games that like surprise you, like how much can actually be done in the 4 days. And everyone learns something, and it's been really cool to make these jams, and I just love them a lot. So it's a nice thing.
And it's a good sneak peek into the startup mentality as well, because that is how startups are built. Everything, all the iterations come up really quickly. I think that's very similar to building a new company as well, what you get to do in that short time.
Yes, I absolutely love it. And I think game jams have a lot of similarities to more entrepreneurship specific events like hackathons. It is along the same lines. There in both cases you have a type of ideation within very short amount of time, problem solving. In one case it's going to be a specific problem. In the game jams scene it's going to be a theme or diversifiers that are according to the theme. So gets your brain juice moving, and it helps a lot of very fast prototyping, which is a extremely useful skill in the work life as well. So do we have any questions from here?
And while people are thinking of questions, I'll also add to this that our college jams also have some like commercial partners, so there's actual cash prizes even, so there you can actually earn a little bit of money sometimes if you have a good idea, so you might even win something, and you can gain the attention of companies who are the sponsors, and there's possibility of further collaboration if the jam project is fruitful. So it is fun, but there is also the serious side to it sometimes that that can actually lead to further success, so that's really nice. Also, there's some comments in the chat that Olli put that, Jani, it's time to release Piupali Paupali Gotu edition this year. We'll get back to you. So for context, Piupali Paupali is like my side jam game I made during organizing. It's very, very high quality physics-based game. It's available on the itch.io page if anyone wants to play it. It's fun. And other, like now serious comment from Olli is like, very good example is Superhot. That was originally a 7-day game jam game, I think, and then they made it into a fully fledged game. Game jam ideas can be golden sometimes. Really good example now, Superhot, big indie release, and they made Superhot VR also, and then they made an expansion, the Mind Control Delete. So there's like 3 releases of Superhot already, and it started as a game jam game in 1 week, and then built upon it because, hey, this is actually a good idea, tested, people like it, let's build more. Another good example is Baba Is You. Henry posted that. That was in the Nordic Game Jam, I believe. Arvi Teikari from Finland made that game there. And then later it made fully fledged commercial release on Steam, overwhelmingly positive. Lots of success, lots of really brilliant game where you make rules on the fly, this kind of abstract puzzle game. Me and Violeta have played it, we both got stumped eventually. Yeah. And then there's also Olli said, don't forget the legendary Goat Simulator, so apparently that was also a game jam game. So these examples kind of keep coming in, because it's a very natural breeding ground for fun ideas, because you get a theme you haven't tried before, then you create something you think is fun, and you see how it goes, and usually when you kind of let go of these like mental blocks and just create something fun, it turns out to be more interesting than you thought, and then there's time to develop it further. So really, really cool thing.
I had no idea Goat Simulator is a game jam game.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but apparently it is. Well, at least Olli put it there, so maybe it is. We have to check, but maybe.
Wow.
But yeah, so, and there's plenty of more examples for sure out there. Awesome.
It's fantastic, and thank you so much for all the information. I hope that the information was also relevant to everybody watching from abroad. I hope you have met Finnish people who you might consider as your future project members or future company participants. Yes.
Yes.
One question.
Please come ahead.
Okay, so Lauri from Pori, yes. I have a question about assessing demand for your product. So this is not really that relevant to games, because I think something like Kickstarter is really good because you need the capital and people have to kind of invest into the idea. But then if you have a product that you are thinking of making, and it's less of a, let's say, because Kickstarter is more of a like techie thing and gamer thing, in my own opinion, like that's the demographic. But if you have a more general demographic, just some kind of gadget or something, what are the good ways of assessing the possible demand for it before really going into the like really investing into developing the product and marketing it and so forth? Thank you.
That's a really good question. There are a lot of different ways going about that, and it depends a lot on what type of product you would be building. The very kind of like easy way to get some thoughts on whether people are interested is just talk to people around you and figure out if there's some interest there. More wider, I think it's always good to understand like what's your hypothesis on your customer base, and then find people who fit your hypothesis and talk to them, interview them in the longer time. Then there are a lot of like kind of like quick hacks that you can do. You can, for example, just do a landing page with maybe like no code tools, very simple, very easy, very quick, and add kind of like a waiting list link and just like spread that around and see whether people are interested. Make sure that they're in kind of like maybe forums or chats or WhatsApp groups or LinkedIn pages or whatever, where you feel that your potential customers could be. But there are like a million different things that you can do and you can try. And again, I would recommend going Google and researching from there, like what are the ways that I can test, and then describe your kind of like core things in your idea or core things in your product. So yeah, there are like a million different ways that you can do that, but those are just a couple ideas.
Awesome. Also, we got from the comments more side info on the like Olli double checked. Goat Simulator started as a joke prototype from an internal 1 month game jam held by Coffee Stain Studios in January 2014. So confirmed.
Nice. And I would add that on Kickstarter you can pretty much find anything. At least I have seen all kinds of crazy things go on Kickstarter. But I would say the same thing applies also to the game projects on Kickstarter. A lot of the projects that come out from there and are known, they have done the things right from the start. But also a lot of the something being called it's a Kickstarter project, it can already be associated with, well, it's probably not going to be what they're advertising, and it might not work to begin with. It might be half-assed, or it could be that something is not proper. So it's a very dangerous place to be. Like, yes, it is good for funding, but you kind of don't want to be known as the Kickstarter project. Some things can get away with it. I think a lot of board games have come out of Kickstarter. The ones I can think of are basically 3D print your own board game, where they ship you some of the parts and then the other parts are just printable, so you can do it at home, and they sell you the plans for that, and few other websites have access to those. But I think in terms of actual products, it's a very tricky place. If you have to go to Kickstarter, we should probably get somebody from Norded for our next talk, because they specialize in crowdfunding. Maybe Nora wants to talk about it, because it's it's almost like a minefield kind of minefield area to navigate. That it could be hugely beneficial if you know what you're doing, but yeah. I don't know, is there any kind of stigma for people who go for Kickstarter and then go to look for venture capital? And if you go to them and say, well, we've done a Kickstarter, is there any kind of like, that's maybe too much of a risk?
I think there can be. I think it depends a lot on how you kind of like approach that. I've seen some companies use Kickstarter as kind of like a marketing campaign way as well. So I think it depends a lot on how you kind of like, why did you do that, and what's the reasoning behind it? What were the kind of benefits that were you were looking for, and did you get those? So I think it's a lot about like, what was your thinking there? So I wouldn't go to Kickstarter just to go for Kickstarter. I think you would have to have like some idea of what do you benefit from doing that.
Yeah.
Also, there's like one final comment from Olli is that isn't Kickstarter in Finland somewhat hard to get up and running due to the Finnish rahankeräyslaki, so the law for like collecting money? And from what like I might be wrong, correct if I'm wrong, but wasn't there like at least Mesenaatti, was this like Finnish actual Kickstarter equivalent?
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, if you get something that you give a certain amount of money and you physically get something in return, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get
Yeah.
thumbs up from Crystal.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, so that's something
but
definitely
yeah.
to keep in mind for Finnish developers. Like, there's the Henry said you have to have a product for sale in the Kickstarter. So okay, so perhaps a pre-order might be, or early access might be.
Se on ok sitten, jos
I think you can do pre-order.
niinku jonkun vaikka esimerkiksi teepaidan tai
Okay. So perhaps merchandise can be like so if you like offer a T-shirt or something in exchange for
With
backing
your
up,
copy.
or
you
like
can
coffee
do.
mug, like
Yeah.
I'm a pre-order backer, like something, but something tangible in return you have to get. I think
Yeah,
that's a hard
yeah.
and fast rule. Really good
Yeah.
point.
So if you don't get anything in return, then that would mean that you would have to have the permit from the police to gather money.
Yeah. Excellent point to wrap up this show.
Yes.
Hey, big thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Loaded with information. Really important topic. Thank you very much. Awesome presentation.
Everyone else, please
Thank you
make
so
sure
much.
if you missed something, it will be recorded on YouTube so you can rewatch it, and we will get you all the links available. And from me also, huge thanks for being able to come and talk to us about starting a company. And I hope that a lot of the audience have had at least some ideas popping up during this time. So thank you so
Perfect.
much. And
Thank you so much.
we will take a short break after this, after which we will do a recap for the International College Jam. So stay tuned for that. And after that, we will have a demo clinic. So we asked earlier if anybody wants to come and showcase their portfolio, if they just want to promote it to the world to see. So there is still time, so make sure that you send a message, whether it's on YouTube or in the International College Jam Discord, or if you're already on the Pori's Discord. Do let us know. There is still a little bit of time and we'll get you sorted. And yeah, we'll hear a little bit later.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Hey, welcome back. We are here live in the auditorium, and now we have the kind of recap of the whole International College Jam number 2. So now the deadline has passed, the games have been done, and now we've had a really nice, plenty of lots of really, really good presentations, interesting talks and topics. And now we have this slot for like recapping how was the Finnish College Jam, what were the impressions, what kind of games were made. We'll have this short like slot for that kind of thing. And of course, if you want to talk, ask questions in the comments, please do. I'll be reading those as we go. So this time we had a bit of a bigger than the first pilot International College Jam. So we had 5 schools in total. So we had Sataidu and Kareria from Finland. We had Landstede from Holland, and really like nice partner co-organizing Landstede. And we're actually going next month there in person with a big delegation of Finnish Sataidu students. We'll be there for a whole month. Gonna be really fun. Also, Olli from Kareria has been a big help in this, like administrating the server. So big thanks to him also. And he is going to be organizing the next Finnish College Jam later this month in the last week of March. So that's going to be a really, really cool thing. And I'll also be there in person for that event's after party stream. That's going to be legendary, to say the least. To undersell it a little bit, I will say it's going to be legendary. Then we had Newcastle College and also a couple of students from Riga State Technical School. So for the first time we have some Latvian students also in the jam. Really nice. And it's really cool that we have the Pixels 3 event as like a cooperation on the Friday program. So we have a plethora of things to offer to all the jammers. Really nice. So basically we started on Monday and we had the theme. And big thanks to Bartel from Landstede who made the really nice stream kit. That was amazing. Like if I put that on slightly, there's no sound and that's fine. But we had really cool, like all the starting videos with animations, and we had a nice Spotify playlist of copyright-free music we could do. And we had amazing sponsors. We had Yahaha and Yeticare sponsoring the event. Big thanks to our sponsors once again, who are also partnering with Pixels. So that's really, really cool. And also, I can skip forward a little bit and I can show the stream kit that Bartel made. So really professional, like big jump in production value. So that was really fun to make. The starting stream made me feel like a real streamer. So that was nice. And speaking of real streamers, on Friday, today, at 5 p.m. Finnish time, Wizard Lotion will be returning and making another epic after-party stream. We're gonna have 20 games up for being playable there. That's a really nice amount. And he's gonna play it on his Twitch TV channel. And if you click there, you can see like what's the streamer about, if you haven't done so already. So we had also lots of sponsors for this event, and lots of challenges and prizes. So for Yahaha we had the solo dev challenge, and that's gonna be resolved next week. So the first place winner will get the 200 euros, the silver second place will get 100 euros, and then bronze for the third place will get 50 euros. So these are for solo devs. So this is actually really nice money for a student especially. So definitely, from what I've seen, solid contenders in this category, several people, so really interested to see who's gonna get the top prizes here this time. Also in the Yeticare challenge we had this, but unfortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen any people make a Yeticare eligible game. Perhaps hopefully next time. And then also we have the honorable mention category, so games that don't compete in either one of those enter this category. So by Yahaha, 200 euros total prize divided equally among all the team members. So we have a panel of judges for this one. So I myself will be one judge, and then Violeta will be another judge, and then we have Olli from Kareria will be the third judge. So this will be our judging panel for this session, and we will talk together and discuss things. Also, we will watch the after party stream, so that will also help us a little bit knowing all the games. We might, I have not decided yet, but we might have a stream perhaps next week to like play the games together and have some feedback on it. Yeah. There was a comment also, I think it's a bit unfortunate that the Yeticare presentation was after the jam started and not before, so didn't really know what it was about. True, and we actually talked about that, and next time we'll be more aware about it in the future. Because yes, it is true that making mobile games is something, if you're not used to that, you might have to do a little bit more prep, so you might not be able to do so like on the fly. But
I would add to that right away that during the Yeti presentation, Matthias mentioned that for those interested, there are possibilities for summer internships, summer jobs, any kind of company connection. If beforehand you did not know much about the company, but now you feel very interested, go ahead and send him a message. He will help you out.
Yes.
And if this is something that you are interested in making, I'm sure they will give you some opportunities to develop something. And of course, if you're interested in participating in a mobile game challenge for next time, do let us know, and we will try and get you such sponsors that would benefit you the most and that you would also be interested in developing for.
Yeah. And also for mobile games, training on that, Unity is a nice engine of choice, pretty easy to do, and Android is the developing platform for Yeticare tablets. And if you are curious about more mobile-oriented game jams, there is the Pocket Jam in Helsinki, Finland, during the Pocket Gamer Connects conference. So that's a side event during that conference, and if you're interested in mobile game jamming, that would be a really good place to start. I highly recommend that event. It's really nice. I was there once a few years back, and there's really cool prizes there also. So back when I was there, our team got like 4th place, which was the honorable mention, and we got tickets to London to showcase our game there in the Pocket Gamer Connects London conference, and then we entered the very big indie pitch competition there also. So it was a really, really cool event that was big for my personal career. So definitely these jams are not all fun and games. They can be fun games and hard business also. So moral of the story is that go do jams. You might be surprised on how well it turns out. And of course, we had the Discord server where we had like all our communication, teamwork, and all the infoing about the event. So it's been working really nicely, this combination of itch.io and Discord. So we're gonna keep using that in the future. It's like free to create events basically. All we have to do is put in the work hours and get the sponsors, and then we can have nice events in this kind of community spirit. And it works really nicely. So we use our real names in Discord, and we also represent our school. We have a really nice vibe there. People are learning a lot. They're having fun. They're making new friends. They're bonding. They're making bridges across countries, making new games together with people they might have not known before. And they also see their old friends. So we have some familiar faces from the previous jam here, especially from Landstede. Lots of people seen before. And now they've learned more about the previous jam, and now they're here to jam again. So really nice, and I think everyone has learned a lot again this time. So I'm really honored to organize these jams. I'm really happy about the big energy and all the drive that people do, because without the jammers there's no jam games, and without jammers there's no jam. So big thanks to all the jammers who've participated and had a good time and really applied themselves. So big thanks to all of you. It's amazing. And there was the Discord link to join. So to recap, we had the theme Magic Mayhem. That was the theme of the jam, and we had some diversifiers. And what are diversifiers are these optional sub-themes that games can use if they wish to do so. So we had Embrace the Grind, we had Under Pressure, Loot, 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 Character Building, No Way Out, Endless Waves, Chain Reaction, and Cosmetics Are Cool. So these was the 8 official diversifiers of this jam, and Peter Kral from Landstede is the mastermind of the theme and the diversifiers this time. I think it's really interesting, and we had lots of cool games that kind of played with this theme, and I like it how they have lots of different takes on this theme. So it's not all the same by any means, but they have like interesting ideas and try to twist the theme a little bit on like subverting it a little bit, because I think that's also a crucial part in game jamming, is that you have to bend the theme a little bit. Don't play along with it too much, and don't go for the first obvious choice necessarily. But especially the more jam experience you have, the more you may want to play with the theme and twist it and make something really cool and interesting. And let's take a look. So we had 23 games, 23 entries in total. 20 of those will be played in the afterparty stream. If you want your game to be played in the afterparty stream and it's not listed in the afterparty channel of the Discord, now is like the last time to do so. So please double check that your game is there. If I've put the thumbs up in your game, that means it's in the list. And I forwarded it to Wizardlotion, but I can update it if necessary. But I think we probably all of the games who want to be played have already done so. So we have lots of interesting games. And this is a good reaction because jam games are supposed to be funny. That's a crucial. It's not too serious. We can have some mimetic fun here. That is definitely they know what they're doing when they're going for that style. And like that's making people laugh is nice. It's good karma. Good karma. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. And we have games like from all skill levels. So some are solo games, some are like team efforts, smaller, bigger teams. And like definitely a lot of wizardry and magic, and obviously like Harry Potter themed, and then magic wands and everything. Yeah, true. Violetta can't hold it together. Lemao. That was comment from Nora. That is definitely true. Violetta can't keep a poker face to save her life. And that's what I like.
Guilty as charged.
Yes. That's a bonus in her character. Yeah. I love that a lot personally, because it's easy to get the nice combo multiplier going and get the good stun luck of laughter going. Awesome. So
that being said, if I'm in the judging panel, you know how to get my vote. Make it funny.
Yeah, pretty much yes. But that's not the only thing. There's also horror and action, and like it's not as that simple as that. But yes, being funny is a powerful thing. So humor is powerful. So we got the Bee Invasion, we got Nico Caro and the Magic Hamburgers, we got Wandering Wizard, Stick With It, like stick with it. Yeah, I get it. Witch Hunter, we got Harry Pothead, and we got Havoc. We got Wizarding of Zuppelman. I might pronounce this with butchery. Then we got Master Caster. I love the rhyme here. We got Arcane Defense. We got Wizard's Wing, Guardian of the Spellbound Runes. We got Piupali Paupali. That's my game, the lowballer edition. We got the Wizard or Die. We got Born to be Wild, Flight of the Valkyries. So this is like the sequel of the first. They had the Born to be Wild in the first International College Jam. So it's the same character going again. We got Shockwaves. We got Mayhem of Ditarish. Nice use of the logo there. We got Arcane Wasteland. We got Gandalf 3D. Definitely reminds me of like Escape from Wolfenstein 3D, especially the font and everything, and also the perspective is really similar. We got Infiltrate the Castle, Magical Mysterious Machine, Ogre Garden, Castle Mayhem, The Wizard of Bridgeville, and Monster Mayhem. So you can see from these like cover images that all of these games are very different in their mood, feel, graphics, what kind of emotions they want to invoke in the potential player. And it's nice. It's cool to make people laugh. And of course these jams are quite open in like what kind of platform are you developing for. Some of them are like HTML5 being played by browser. There's at least one of them. There's Windows games, there's some Mac and Linux games also. Hopefully you have Windows builds of all your games, because Wizardlotion can't play them unless they're Windows. And you can actually, if you edit your game, and then you have the executable file. From that place you can select on what is the actual platform of your game. So you could go there, edit that, and click the right logo, and then what, Krister?
Myös pystyy toi buildaamaan useaa eri formaattia, et esimerkiksi sä pystyt niinku, mä oon esimerkiksi tehnyt silleen, että Unitusta ottaa niinku tyyliin ton niinku verkkoversion ja sitten Windows.
Yeah, that is true. So you can make multiple builds and for multiple platforms if you wish. So you could have the browser version and the downloadable version for Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever. That is all possible. Unity is quite flexible in this like multi-platform support. Awesome. So you should go and click that so you have the correct platform visible. But be sure that if you have your game on the after party list, have a Windows executable or browser, either that. But we could take a quick look at some of these games. Definitely, there was comments there. Nico Kara and the Magic Hampers, or just if Gen Z was a game. Yeah.
So I think that is the one you should.
But yeah, we'll definitely have to take a look. We could also probably take a dive in the Discord later. There's some fun there, and the event photos and everything. There was other comment from Nora. Half of them are horror, and you just hear the laugh/crying in the background. Yeah, that was definitely the first International College Jam. We had the. Well, that reminds me, the third Finnish College Jam with the theme Halloween. That was a fun after party stream, especially with the jump scares and everything. I remember like Olli specifically told us all to have jump scares because he knows the Wizard Lotion very well. And Wizzy had been playing a lot of horror games that month, or like 2 months, and already been like nicely softened up by all the jump scares. So it was a nice surprise when he had the shopping mall game and that opening jump scare.
And for the record, I was sitting next to Yanni and he was jumping every single time there was a jump scare.
Yes.
So
I react to sound.
Like if I appreciate funny games, I also appreciate horror games. And I don't get affected by the jump scares, but if you hear laughter during horror games, it's probably because Yanni is nearby and he has done a funny jump. So it's very amusing. It's quality. You should always join us live for these after parties so that you can experience that as well.
Yeah, and awesome. So here's a good example of multi-platform development. We have Windows, Mac, and Linux release for all two, and we have nice development log also here. You can leave a comment on itch.io, so that's really nice. I love the page. It's also a very good example of good itch.io page, like very, very like a professional and beautiful, like Nico said there, beautiful. Bella di Televisione, HD TV.
The devs,
yes.
The devs, make sure that you tag him, like Nico Cara Avocado. Make sure you tag him into any of your posts. He seems like the guy who would be interested in a game made about him. At least I would like to know, regardless of the quality of it or the theme, as long as it's not outright offensive towards him, which I would probably ask you to reconsider why you did that, because it should always be nice to people. But otherwise, get some free promo. Get him to play your game.
Yeah,
he is a content creator.
Definitely, and also these jams have been really nice, like in the way that people can make streamer-friendly games on purpose and then get some live feedback on it on the fly. And we've had so many laughs with awesome games and jammers who like understood the assignment, so to say, and passed the vibe check to be like how the young ones say it on the internet. But yeah, stop laughing in the audience. But yeah, how you do, fellow kids. And also, interestingly, this game features its own soundtrack written by me, by the person, the developer, not me, but the developer, obviously. And we have the pseudonym That One Perse Guy is the developer here. But yeah, we are not gonna probably play any games because we don't have proper time for that. But let's continue, or like go back to the previous. Let's see if yes, it works. Awesome. So we have some comments also. So itch.io was really nice for this, like collecting feedback and sharing your game. Oh, there's a comment. Isn't he known for binge eating a lot? Yes, he is. He was first vegan. Is this true?
I have no idea.
Audience says that it is. if we believe the audience. If you watched You Wanna Be a Millionaire, then you know shouldn't always trust the audience, but I think they might be right. Another comment, next time we shall make a Jani garlic game. Please do. That would be amazing. We could make like Piupali Paupali variant game where there's the
Juggling garlic.
garlics are like orbiting, and then there's
Vampire
my
Survivor.
yeah, garlic survivors.
Yes.
That would be. I would love to have like a meme game about me, and that it's actually good and funny. There's some like really good mechanics and dynamics.
You realize where you're saying that, right?
Bring it on. Bring it on.
So next jam, special award if you can make a meme game about Jani.
Jani diversifier.
Yes.
Permission given, indeed.
I think that should be on every single jam you participate in.
It's the unofficial diversifier.
Yes.
And let's say like I could be like give the Jani stamp of the best Jani meme game, like unofficial trophy. I will like give a garlic that has like the autograph on it.
You can have a picture package on a green screen, and
I could like offer today. I offer you this.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah.
We have one of the diversifiers and then for the next jam, and you guys know what to do.
So then let's go from the top. We have the bean invasion. The beans are invading. So this also is part of the bean verse, so to say. There was the beans nightmare, and then some other bean games. And then then there's a comment from Olli also. Is that a challenge? Couple of weeks until the Finnish college jam? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Do it.
Gauntlet is thrown down.
Do it, Olli.
Yes. And then Henry says, before it was the highest honor to be included in Aku Ankka, now it's to have a meme game about you. I would agree. I think this is how the culture of games evolve. So definitely you've made it when they make meme games about you. I'd say that. So why not? And also, why not make meme games about Olli and Violeta also sometime? That might be funny. Now the smiling stopped real quick.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah. So the bee invasion, the year is 1942. You're all alone defending your home against the bee invasion. Good luck. And also you have Windows and Mac releases. So let's take a look at these screenshots. So beans killed 11. Washed for movement space to jump, left click to shoot, auto reload, ESC to pause. So you have HP ammo. And this kind of looks like some kind of Garand rifle probably, maybe. Is it? Lauri made a noise.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We got kind of like ping. But yeah. Yeah. And then there's a tank even. Tank has neutral steering, so it really shouldn't ignore that place. Yeah. Like not even realistic tank movement in jam game. It's cool. Like no worries. The bee invasion to battle settings. Run away. Nice. Yeah. Good touch. Good touch. Awesome. And you can always, these games are free to be downloaded and played, so the link are public. We need a game about game jam memes. This is really interesting. So there was M1 Garand Suomi KP 31 and are the guns in the screenshots. So we have the like authentic guns. So let's take a look. We have Wandering Wizard. Stick with it. Let's go to the itch.io page, see what's going on. So we got 2D graphics. Monsters have invaded your home and they want the colors and they will take them no matter what. Protect your world and the magicless people in it. So they got a whole bunch of diversifiers going on. So 5 of them, good job. 5 out of 8. That's really, really good. So we had 5 characters here, 5 developers. One of them is in the audience right now. Hey. So how was it? Was it fun jamming? No. Wow. Okay. What you doing here then?
For the free pizza.
Yes, here for the pizza.
Checkmate. Well, I'm sure she's lying. She likes it anyway.
Keeps coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well. But yeah, also here you have multiple. You have actually working version that's a couple of minutes late. And then you have Wondering Wizard, stick with it. This is also good. You can have like, if you make builds after the deadline, it's nice to have these like versions to choose from. Cool. And also cute screenshots. Were you the creator of these 2D graphics?
I did the monsters and their movements.
Okay, so who was the behind these backgrounds?
Littenchar or Anna.
Okay, yeah, cool. Oh, and who's Alder Cape?
Nenno.
Oh, okay. You change names so often, I can't keep track of them.
That's her Ichio.
Okay.
So you can link out the profiles there. So.
Okay, cool. Awesome. We will see these in the after party.
Maybe one more.
One more. Okay, let's take a look. What would be Harry Potter? Probably not. What would be interesting? Gandalf 3D. We have to check this out. So this is. It runs in browser. How nice. So 30 seconds, 2 guns, too many targets. How many can you gun down? Movement, WSD, camera shooting, and mouse. Game by Juha Pennanen. He's one of our new AT students, so nice. Made in 4 days for the International College Jam #2. Theme Magic Mayhem. Diversifiers Under Pressure. Developers high score 32. Wow, that's pretty impressive. We could run the game on the browser really quickly. Violetta, can you be the WSD? You can be the mover, I'll be the shooter. So teamwork.
Okay.
Optimum shit. Awesome. And when you're ready, you can press X to start. Collect that pickup. Are you with me or against me? I need targets.
Like also cannot turn you to the side.
Yes. Okay, let's go one more time. That was pretty good. That was warm up. We're gonna go. $20. That's pretty good. Awesome. Hey. Cool. And this is why browser games are really fun. We can play them and like that. So that's really cool and fun. Nice idea. And what I've looked on the Discord, it was this backstory of the game, that what happens when wizards run out of mana. So of course they whip out the guns when there's no other choice. Awesome. Pretty fun, and from what I understood, this game was made with Construct game engine. So it was fun, like, also backstory, he said that this was pretty much the last game before, like, next up we're gonna use Unity and learn all about that. Well, some about that, maybe all about Unity is a bit too ambitious of a goal, but gonna learn how to use Unity. And this was like the graduation game of the old engine and then moving on to new things. So really cool. And I believe he made everything solo. So even the music